welcome to the emergency meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Today is December 21st, 2021, Solstice Day, shortest day of the year by some measures. So welcome to the darkness of the northern latitudes. We have a single item on our agenda today. The agenda can be found online for anybody who is watching us. We have, after adjustments to the agenda, we just have a single order to work on today. So Mr. Mokrahajski, I'll ask you this. Do you have any adjustments to the agenda?
No, Chair, and I just wanted to note that this is a special meeting of the board, not an emergency meeting.
Thank you. It's a special meeting. If you look online, it's called a regular meeting, but it's a special regular meeting. So thank you for that clarification in nomenclature. Then let's move down the agenda to item 2A, which is Order 2212-2101 in the matter of approving a board order to execute contracts for transitional legal services. And Alana, Mr. Mokrahajski, I'll ask you to introduce your panel, which is Alana Holmes. But Diana, do we need to do a roll call for the record on this?
We do not.
Thank you. Then, Ms. Mokrahajski, you have the...
I am, sorry, Chair Farr, I'm producing minutes. There will be minutes for this meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Mokrahajski, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As the board knows, you have appointed a new county council and approved a contract with that new county council to begin on January 17th. Erin Pettigrew will start her role as Lane County Council on that date. She will also be working in transition with current County Council Steve Dingle next week, and so she will be on site and working with our current County Council for 4 days next week. And so the board has asked that we identify, and I should say that we've met with the chair and vice chair to work to identify an interim county council for the period of January 1st to the 17th until Ms. Pettigrew begins and after Mr. Dingle ends his service. And so that's what the discussion is today. You have a memo from Human Resources and a board order that requests authority to delegate or action to delegate authority to approve legal services for interim county council for a 2-week period of time. So that's really the action that we're looking for today. And I'm going to turn it over to Alana, and there will be some additional services that we're looking for as well, both in terms of drafting a contract for temporary litigation work that can be done, as well as additional transition support for Ms. Pettigrew after the interim contract is complete. So I'll let Alana Holmes, our Human Resources Director, and Ryan McBride from Human Resources provide you with additional information.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Steve's given a really great overview. Basically, we are here today to ask the board to approve an order to execute contracts for transitional legal services. These contracts will provide said legal support to Lane County and County Council staff and ensure representation for current and ongoing litigation matters. So just to break that down, we are prepared to move forward with crafting 2 separate contracts. The first would be to provide interim county council coverage, as there will be that small gap in the transition between our current county council and the incoming county council. So we would be contracting with the firm to act and provide those services until January 17th, when Ms. Pettigrew will come on board in that official capacity. And then we will also have probably a little bit of overlap in that contract so that that firm can provide a resource in the onboarding and transition of County Council Pettigrew in her new role. The second contract that we are exploring is to be able to provide coverage on certain litigation matters as Ms. Pettigrew transitions into the new County Council role. We will be, we're waiting to hear about the possibility for moving forward with the contract there, waiting for the firm to do their conflict checks and then some other internal processes. And if that looks to go well, then that would be a contract to provide outside litigation support, allowing Ms. Pettigrew, as she comes on board, a window of time to assess caseloads and develop a strategy for future litigation on an ongoing basis. So that would be, you know, we're looking at an interim there, possibly in a contract with a 3-month period and potentially some small extensions if it were determined to be needed. The costs associated with those contracts has not been determined at this time, as, you know, we're in those conversations right now. All of that will be spelled out in accordance with our, you know, contract requirements. And Ryan and I are working with Jim Cheney, who is our contracts attorney, as we move through this process. So the options before the board are to approve the board order to execute contracts for transitional legal services, or to not approve the board order and provide some different direction to staff on next steps. Human Resources does recommend the first option, which is to approve the board order attached to the memo. So at this time, I will turn it back to you, Chair Farr, for further discussion and any questions you may have.
And thank you, Ms. Holmes, and thank you for bringing us to this point. I'd like to point out to anybody, for the record and for anybody watching online, if you click on View Agenda Items on today's agenda has been posted online. It'll give you a full rundown of a number of different things. The board order that we'll be considering today is on there, which is Order 21-01, 1221-01. Also on there, if you look at the agenda cover memo, contains a wealth of information. I'd like to point to item 3A, which is background implications, which includes a fairly comprehensive history of why we are here today and what got us to this point today. There are a total of 9 bullet points, all of which should be read. And anybody who's watching online, read those bullet points, because you'll know exactly why we're here today, and you'll know the timeline that got us into this. The board initially started to directed Human Resources to proceed with the selection of contracting service on June 15, 2022. And it goes down the history to say what has happened from June 15th to this point today, which is December 21st, 2022. So that's a total of, we'll count the number of months. So, and here we are today, and today we'll be considering, as has been mentioned, what we're going to do for the interim between, essentially between January 1st and January 17th, when the new council, which the board majority has hired, comes on board. So with that, I'll turn it over to, I'll look for a cue to see if anybody wants to talk to the order or to the agenda cover memo.
Chair.
Let's see, I'm sorry. Let me look up here. Yep, there. I'm not showing a cue for some reason.
Oh, sorry, I didn't raise my virtual hand. Is that easier for you to do? I'm sorry.
It is, yeah. So Vice Chair Trieger, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I was simply going to make the motion so we can see if we can move along and have discussion of the motion. So with that, I would move approval of Order 22-12-21-01 in the matter of approving a board order to execute contracts for transitional legal services.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Vice Chair Trieger and seconded by Commissioner Buck. This Order 22-12-21-01, which we all have a copy in hand, and anybody following online can view a copy of this board order. There are a series of whereases on there, and I'm going to make sure that everybody understands what the therefores are. The therefore is what the nature of this order is. The Lane County will pursue and execute contracts for transitional legal services to include representation for ongoing litigation matters and interim county counsel support, such as providing legal advice to the board and responding to urgent legal matters for Lane County. And 2, that the Chief Human Resource Officer, in consultation with the county council staff, will coordinate and execute the terms of the contract for interim legal services. 2 is a pretty important bullet point on that. The Chief Human Resource Officer, in consultation with county council staff. So discussion to the motion. I will have more discussion personally. So I'm going to look at the queue for discussion to the motion. I see no discussion. Then nothing much more that I really need to add, other than in bullet point 1, there are 2 basic areas that we're looking at there. 1 is to execute contracts for transitional legal service for ongoing litigation matters, and county council support, such as providing legal advice to the board and responding to urgent legal matters. And in discussion, urgent legal matters typically might come up in the form of monitoring the emails that typically would go to the chief counselor, which would have gone to Mr. Dingle. So the interim counsel will be looking at emails, for instance, directing them to the appropriate area and identifying if there are some things that aren't covered by existing staff. It's a short period of time, so the probability of anything large happening is probably low. So we'll get through this particular period of time. Is the order clear to everybody? Very good. Then, without further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. By the way, I'll mention this, that we are a board of 4 county commissioners. Commissioner Bozovich has resigned his position, no longer is an Oregon resident. So we are a board of 4 county commissioners acting as the full board. So with that, Mr. Mokrahajski, any further business for today's meeting?
That's it. Thank you, commissioners and everyone for coming together and taking action today. So we'll move forward with your direction. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm in the office right now, and anybody who's not in the office doesn't know how great the candies are that Devin Ashbridge made and left on the table in there. It's worth a trip in, even from Lowell, Commissioner Buck. I'd get in here if I were you before they're gone. So with that, I think this will be the termination of this meeting. I wish everybody a happy holidays. Stay safe. Stay warm over the next few days. It's going to be a pretty dicey couple of days. We are adjourned.
Bye-bye.